Hi peeps, if you follow the channel you probably realized that I recently uploaded first ever proper review of Yamaha XJ650 Turbo. This bike is lovely now, but when I first bought this it was far from it. The bike was plagued by many problems. Some of those problems were, for instance, inability to start the bike when it was hot, or a very difficult start when the bike was hot, pretty much no power at high RPM, or significant problems with the clutch, which ended up with inability to shift gears. This little series of videos is what I filmed to hopefully help some other people out there struggling with XJ650 Turbo. I had to learn a lot here, and maybe those videos will save you some time. So here we go, let's get it started. Right, so taking off the fairing panels from the XJ650 Turbo. So what you need to do is first of all push a button here to get access to the fuel cap area. Then you remove all the screws holding the plastics here. Then you also remove the screws holding those brackets here. And then of course you're going to have to remove that. So you then unclip it in here. And on the other side, that is fairly easy. Just remove it. And then you'll need to remove a couple of more screws here holding this fairing, two at the top, two at the bottom, and the fairing will come off. Alright, so I've removed all the little bolts holding the clutch cover, and those are different lengths, so I put them on this piece of paper, knowing exactly which one goes where. Now I'm just going to grab it here and wiggle the cover out. It comes off easily, and remember you've got this clutch cable mechanism here, which then needs to engage with that rod here, so just keep that in mind. Right, so I pulled out all the bolts. And now I'm going to just remove this pressure plate. Comes off easily. This is what you'll see inside. There's going to be a little bearing there, so just make sure the needle bearing is okay. And here there's going to be a little washer, so don't lose that. And here we've got the plates. So I'm just going to pull out the whole stack to examine the clutch basket. So I can tell there's some little burrs on the basket, so I'm going to have to remove the basket to file it off. So as you can see here, that nut is held by that metal securing piece, metal bracket. So to be able to remove the nut, you've got to straighten it up. So for that I'm going to use a screwdriver and a hammer. Hopefully this shows. So get that straight, and that way you'll be able to unscrew that nut. To make my life a little easier, I use the nut buster. If you don't have it available, you're gonna have to use clutch holding tool. Inner hub comes out easily, and then we'll proceed with removing of the outer bigger clutch basket. To remove that, you're gonna need to get off the inner piece first. This is the part that I'm trying to remove now. Comes off fairly easily, and then you can wiggle out your main clutch basket. Alright peeps, so I spent some time with a sandpaper trying to get those burrs flattened out here. I don't know if camera will show this, but you know, I got 90% of them flat. Those plates should now slide okay on those ramps. So this clutch basket is done, time to install it. Reinstallation of the clutch basket is just the reverse process of what we've done before. Lubrication of the inner bearing has to take place, goes in nicely, and then the inner piece goes in the bearing, and that's pretty much job done when it comes to that. Alright, so inner basket can now go in, everything in the back is lubricated, and it simply slides on that. Right, now I'm going to have to torque this up to 72 Newton meters, but this is going to be a bit problematic because obviously the basket wants to spin. So what we need to do is we need to use a clutch holding tool, whack it in here, and this is going to be sort of stopping it from moving. Let's just make sure if it clicks. Hear the click. So now of course I'm going to have to bend this securing bracket there. So there we go. I think you can see this. That one part there is nicely bent, which is going to be enough for it. It's time now to put the plates in. Obviously all the plates will be lubricated in oil. Now what we need to do is installing this pressure plate, and let's not forget to lube that little bearing here, and do not lose that washer in there as well. There's a punch mark here on that pressure plate, and there's also a punch mark here on this clutch boss, so those two have to align. And now we just install our clutch springs. Okay, there we go, we've got it installed. I've torqued it up to 10 Newton meters because that's what the service manual recommends, and we can now put the clutch cover back on. Right, so now it's time to reinstall this clutch cover. So remember, you need to line up those splines here on this clutch pushing rod with that mechanism here. Now, something extremely important to mention. This picture here was taken from Yamaha XJ service manual, and you can see a pressure plate with its springs and bolts there. In the middle of the pressure plate there's going to be this clutch pull rod, which has its teeth set towards the rear about 45 degrees downwards from horizontal, and this is exactly how you have to set this to be able to put the cover on. Also, the lever on your cover has to be set parallel towards the surface of the gasket on the crankcases. That's the only way to install this cover correctly. How do I know this? Well, I didn't read the service manual. I've wasted about an hour of my time trying to figure it out. So, lesson learned, read the manual. So that concludes the clutch job, and from there on I have moved on to another task. To drain the oil, I had to remove this 19mm oil drain plug, which came out easily, no problem at all. And this allowed me to drain the horrible old oil from the engine into my oil pan. Then there was time to remove the oil filter housing. There we go. So all the oil filter inside the housing looks pretty terrible, as you can tell, especially comparing to the new oil filter, which looks just lovely. New oil filter installed in the housing, and now it's time to reinstall the housing with the filter in its slot between the two exhaust pipes. I'm also reinstalling the drain plug. And now time for a little fiddle job of reinstallation of the oil filter and its housing. Let's tighten up the drain plug, and finally the most satisfying part of this particular job, which is filling up the crankcases with brand spanking new engine oil. This is it for this week, folks. Thanks for watching, and till next time,